Sophie
Saurel,
has magic touch.
Sophie is a rock star.
Mm, Now we're live.
All right, gang.
Great.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today we've got a special conversation. And the minute we say the context of the conversation, I guarantee you, your brain's going to go, not me, not me. I've never done that. Okay. And here's the question. Why is it that to be successful for a human being sometimes means losing yourself and even the life you hoped for? So, Gio, I'm delighted to be in this conversation with you, brother. I know your brain probably did the same thing. Nope, not me. My success had zero cost whatsoever.
Yeah. No, it's been. I was very curious to discover this conversation with you, and it's a conversation why success often means losing yourself and the life you hope for. And I think that most of us and most people who are serious about their success, their professional growth, or their business growth in their career, most people who are serious about it, they can really relate to how they find themselves, how they find themselves losing themselves,
Yeah.
how they find themselves not being connected with their families, and how they find themselves not being connected to life itself. They can't quite help to always be in this doing mode. I gotta go to the next goal and the next goal and the next goal, or the next promotion and the next promotion and the next promotion. And then even though they're not happy with themselves, and this happens to many of us, even though they're not happy with themselves, it seems like power, influence, status is the next power, the next influence, or the next status is the one who's going to bring me satisfaction, is the one that's going to bring you satisfaction and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And it never does.
Yeah. You know,
And I'll add one more thing, sorry. And the
yeah.
interesting thing is, the very funny thing is that we lose ourselves in that place, our way in that race, and we start diminishing others to stay there. And it's a very interesting phenomena that happens to most people who are in the pursuit of success
Yeah.
and
And
promotions. Go ahead, Sorrel.
Gio, what I'm discovering in the deal is that it happens so subtly, right? It's not like I go to the devil and I say, "Hey, here's my whole life. I'm trading it right now for success." No, it happens in some very small moments in life. Now, I can look at my life, right? Uh, I remember saying, "I need to major in engineering so I can make enough money when I graduate." When in fact, I really, really loved philosophy and the arts and literature. So, in a way, looking at my life right now, I could say, yeah, I made the right decision. And I left with an engineering degree and I had the money I wanted to have. Yes, I did sacrifice that little bit of my life. But what happens over time is that I did sacrifice that and I got the success. So in my mind, I kept saying, oh, well, that's what it looks like to be successful. I have to sacrifice something. That's life. And guess what? I do it again. I do it again. And before I know it, my brain actually normalizes being dissatisfied and having to give away just a little bit of my life so I can be successful. And for me, in that world, there is no other way to be successful than to give away a little bit of me and compromise just a little bit, just this time, the life I hoped for. And I do it over and over and over. And before you know it, it becomes this mountain where I do lose myself and I do lose the life I've hoped for. So that's how it's happened in my life, Gio.
Yeah, so that little bit, let's continue to expand that, what you mean by that little bit. And I think I want to expand it because I know that most leaders, business leaders or community leaders or a family, people who are committed that their family grows and they get the life they want, right? In this commitment to that little bit more.
Yeah, this commitment to being successful.
Yeah, and then you say that little bit more. Let me get a little bit more of that commitment to be successful and to have influence and to have power. It sneaks up on people. It certainly did for me. Compromising things that were important to me, core values, that were important to me, and certainly I see it. Core values that are important to people at work. Like I see it at work many times where people start gossiping.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I know, like normally I don't gossip about my boss, or normally I don't gossip about my colleague, but he's such a jerk, or she's such a jerk, and somehow it begins to sneak up on people or on myself and on others. That core value of don't speak bad about other people. It begins to sneak up because it keeps this status for myself. Like I know what I'm talking about, or I know how it should be done around here, and that person is a threat to the way it should be done around here.
Yeah, so one of the things we also learn is that not only do I have to give away a little bit of me and compromise the life I hope for, I have to do it at the expense of others. And I have to measure that success by some criteria outside of me, something like money, like title. I have to get promoted. I have to be this. I have to be that. And if it doesn't come this year, because I set this goal for myself, you know what? If I'm a manager now, I must be a director in 2 years. And if 2 years goes by and I'm not a manager, so I'm now a chump. And in order to get there, I also say to myself, you know, there's some things that are near and dear to me that I can afford to neglect. Things like my own well-being, exercising, eating well, or even hanging out with people who leave me emotionally well. I compromise all of that to say that's what it takes to be successful. Now, I'm not saying that like it's the truth, Gio, but you know what? I think it's a wake-up call for people to actually look, even to see the small ways in which I compromise my life and myself in order to be successful. So given that, Gio, in your experience, what do you see as strategies that may give you, me, others the opportunity to actually enjoy success without compromising life and ourselves? What have you seen?
Well, I have to say first, Saurel, that this conversation wouldn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense until you find yourself constantly achieving your goals and saying, and now what? And now what? And now what? Because I do remember, if this conversation would have come to me at the beginning of my career or at the beginning of my business, where I was really working really hard to make it happen and be very focused around that. And if somebody would have said, hey, make sure that you don't lose yourself in the process, I would have said, who
What
cares
do you
about
mean?
losing myself? I would say, what do you mean? Or who cares about losing myself? Because it's about achieving the goal. It's about sacrificing whatever I need to sacrifice. It's about, and many people in the journey would say, you know, sometimes you got to be away from the family, and you just got to be away from the family, and you got to just be with that. And although it's very valid to make that point in many occasions, that becomes the mantra, that becomes the compass for success for most of us, for most people.
Yeah.
Or or sometimes the ends justifies the end justifies the means, and some
Yeah.
people would go in that direction because it's about getting the next result. And so for some people who are listening to this conversation may not achieve the goal they want yet, so they could be ignoring this conversation. But I know for all of us, or for most people who have achieved some goals or some success, more than likely they have lost themselves in the way. If they are if they are the boss of an organization or a team, they can't quite see themselves. They can't quite see that everybody's laughing at their jokes
Hmm.
all the time. You know, they can't quite see it. They have created an environment for themselves that everybody laughs at their jokes.
Even when their jokes are not funny.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
they can't quite see that no one can really tell you how they feel. And no one can really tell you the truth about how they feel or what they see. Because you have created a life for yourself that you are the only one that matters around. And your voice is the only one that matters. And the people who challenged you in the way, they got fired. They got let go. Right? The friends who saw it differently, you moved on. You let them go, right? And so it's important to start seeing what are all the things that I'm doing on my way to success that at some point are going to leave me empty. And so I wanted to open up that a
Yeah.
little bit more, Saurel,
Yeah.
before
I
we
love the
go
way you
into, so
opened
what do
that
I
up,
do?
Gio. I love the way you opened that up, and give me a moment to create maybe as you're speaking, I was looking and I find myself a little bit challenged to actually look and see where. And then I started looking, say, where am I giving away my time? Like time that I want for myself to either go to the gym or go to the spa or go see a movie I love. Why am I giving that up? Time with family, as you're mentioning. So,
Or eat ice cream?
yeah, time is an arena to look. You know, if you find yourself sacrificing your time or doing things you don't want to do, or feeling as if, oh, my time is not mine, I don't get to do what I want to do when I want to do it, you may be compromising yourself and the life you hoped for. And if you look at your relationships, as you're pointing to, Gio, the same thing's there. If you know friends that you've moved on, bye bye. We don't think the same way. I'm on the way to success. You are a lazy bum. I mean, what do you mean you're going to a party tonight like that? And then your own emotional well-being. You know, when I'm giving a little bit of my life up, I remember uh, declining a promotion at work. That was the beginning of actually looking and saying, you know what? I don't want to make that sacrifice anymore. I don't want to move to that place so I can become a director and be traveling 5 days a week. I'm going to say no. And you know what, Gio? It took me almost a year to get over that no. I was thinking to myself that, you know what? That's the way it goes in corporate America. You pass up a promotion, they learn soon enough that you're not the type of person who's going to continue to do that, and you're left behind. That's the way it was. So those three spaces gave me the opportunity to look. Where am I sacrificing? Where am I giving up? Where am I leaving behind the life I hoped for?
Yes, yes, yes. And one could see it as a predictable future, right? One could see, whoa, if I continue to do this, then likely I'll be alone and with an incredible amount of anxiety and worry. And I may not want that. And that's what
Yeah,
one needs to ask oneself. I may not want. So how do I reinvent myself? So let's
yeah,
make that transition, right?
yeah.
Once we look
So
at that predictable future, if you're not there, but you see you're getting there, well, how do I make the transition? So let's make the transition before we get there. And it's pretty lonely there. I certainly can say for myself.
yeah,
And so
I love the way you're saying it. I got a picture of me. I'm busy and anxious, and that's it, right? So if
yeah,
I'm busy,
you're busy,
alone, and
you're
anxious,
anxious, and you find yourself at the tallest hotel room with champagne with
yeah,
no one having a real conversation,
yeah,
and so certainly that happens to a lot of people. That certainly happened to me. And so how do we continue this ladder for success, continue to play all out, continue to bring others along the way, and create massive businesses and create success without losing ourselves? So let's talk about that. One of the key things to make sure that we do on a regular basis, I want to say daily basis, is to connect to what are the most important core values of myself. What are the what we call the non-negotiable ones? What are my non-negotiable core values that I know that when I die, that when you die, that people say this about you, you'll be proud of yourself, right? You wear whatever it is important to you, discipline in this area, or you were family person, or you were always looking for whatever it is that your core values are. And it's important to remember them on a regular basis. What I mean by that is to connect with them on a regular basis. Absent of doing that, it's easy to get lost in the pursuit of success because of the fear of not having it. So reconnect with your non-negotiable core values, right? That's the first one. Go ahead, Sorrel.
and sometimes, Joe, defining my core values feels difficult, right? So what I found really helpful at the beginning was to simply create a list of very short list of never do's. These are the things I will never do to be successful. I'd rather just be poor, have no achievements, but I will never do that. So
Yeah.
create, you might begin, those of you listening who are like me struggling to say, well, my core value is this and I'll never break it. I found it really easy to say, you know what? I will never take a promotion just for the money when I know it's going to ruin my time with my family. Like, I'll never do that. I could be with that. Or I'll never take a promotion to go do something I know I don't like to do, but I'll go do it anyway because the money's good over there. But I'll never do that. Or I'll
I
never,
remember, so I remember that Sorrel doing that non-negotiable one, and
yeah,
I started becoming someone known that I help teams grow, right, and connect. And I created this core value, this non-negotiable that said, I will never work for a company I don't admire for what they do, right,
yeah,
in the world. And meant like a week, and I had no money, like really no money for appetizers or anything. It was barely scraping. And Marlboro called me,
mm,
the cigarette company, And they said, "Hey, I know you're a rising star in the Hispanic community. We'd love for you to be a speaker in the
Come
next
on.
conference thing that they had." And I was so excited. This recruiter called me, and I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, I need that. Boy, do I need that commission." And I said, "Which one is the company?" And she said, "Oh, it's Marlboro." And so they want to bring Hispanic people, and they want to empower them. This is a great company. And I was like, "What's the budget?" And she said, "It's a 5,000." I was like, "Oh God, I really need that."
I really need that
I,
money.
I really need that money. However, just 3 weeks before that, I was learning to do this thing, non-negotiable thing. So I had it written. I would never work for a company I don't admire, right? Unless, they want to reinvent themselves, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so what's the purpose of this meeting? And they're like, they want to bring more Hispanic people to the company.
They want to
And
increase the population of Hispanic smokers.
or that, and I was like, man, I can't
Yeah.
accept that. I really can't accept that. Said, "Is it a budget thing?" And I said, "No, no, it's not a budget thing. And don't tell me there's more money allowed because I may accept it. So just find someone else." And I told the recruiter, the reason I'm not doing it is because recently I did this non-negotiable thing. And Marlboro, my grandfather had a heart attack and he smoked Marlboro his entire life. I can't. And she's like, "I get it. I admire it." And anyway, they never called me again. The recruiter never called me again also. And she works for many other companies. But it's critical to allow yourself to do that. Go ahead, Saurel.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gio, there are a number of other points we could make, right? But this non-negotiable thing is really central and foundational to living the life you want and having the success without compromising your life. So I'm wondering, we have 6 minutes left. I'd love to hear from a few people. What non-negotiables are you creating now, or what non-negotiables do you see to create? And given that non-negotiable, there may also be like an action to take. So I'd love to hear from people. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or
well,
what's opening up for yourself in this conversation, Saurel? Not just the
yeah,
non-negotiable.
not just the
Go ahead,
non-negotiable.
Stan.
Mine is very, very similar in the sense that I've made the decision that, my family, especially my immediate family, my wife, my mother, my daughters, or something like that, really have an important issue that's coming up. And I've got business there. I've got business to do, and it seems like there's going to be a conflict of interest, right? The family's going to win out. I'm going to do everything that I can to see if there's some kind of way that maybe I can still work with someone. Maybe someone else can do what needs to be done to make sure that my family's taken care of, but I'm going to make sure they're taken care of. And if it just has to be me that's there that needs to be present, then it's going to trump. It's going to trump the business. It's going to trump the activity that I have decided was essential for a certain approach to success. Yeah.
So I will, yours is I will always put family first. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like this.
Yeah.
If it actually has to come down to me being present, and it's not something I can add somebody else to do to satisfy that need that my family has, right? I have to be there and there's a conflict of business in that, then I'm going to find somebody else if I can to do that business part. And if I can't, I'm just going to have to apologize on the business side, but I'm going to have to go and take care of family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a non-negotiable for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've met people, Stan, over the years that I really admire that have that negotiable. And they say to their children, "So when is your soccer thing?" And they say it's Friday at 7, but they gotta be in Houston at 9 in the morning. And then they find a way to get a private jet
Mhm.
and pay a lot more to make sure they keep their word and keep their business. And I have learned a lot from people who do that. They find a way
Mm-hmm.
Keep their word about their non-negotiable. And they expand their life. It's not that they make their life smaller.
Mm-hmm.
They make their life larger and bigger so that they can keep their non-negotiable and continue to find that thing that drives them, that success. It's not sacrificing one or the other. It's
Exactly.
expanding my life for the opportunity. Yeah, that's really great,
Yeah.
Stan. And then there's Samsung SM S9.
Yeah, that's me, guys. That's Ronald.
It's Ronald.
Yes,
Hey,
yes, yes.
Ronald, how are you, Ron?
Ronald. Hey, Ron.
Very good, very good. This conversation is great, guys. This, so what resonates for me is, yeah, I think it's non-negotiable that you always have to do what you have to do. And that's the part I've always tell my kids, and I'm a very advocate for this is a line that I picked up on one of the Denzel Washington movie. I think it might have been The Debaters, where he said, "Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do." So, so that's the part that keep me re-engineering, rethinking, reapproach, a new slate. So, and recently I've also listened to this guy named Rick Rubens. And you guys know Rick, he's one of the biggest music producer. And he actually come back and said that it's good to have a job so you can do what you want to do. So in other words, like, I mean, particularly me and you guys, with my art, um, it's always returned to me that I have to, uh, yes, I have to do my art. So in order for me to do it, I have to have something else to really, lean on before he can fly by itself. So that conversation, what's non-negotiable for me is that path, is that journey that there's always something in between that's gonna help me get to where I want to go. And again, you do what you have to do, so you do what you want to do. That's
Yeah,
the goal.
Ronald. Thank you, Ronald. Do what you want, do what you have to do so that you can eventually do what you want to do. And that's where it sneaks up on folks. That thing you just said, that's where it sneaks up. Not saying that I don't that I disagree or anything. It's certainly my life is about do what you have to do, right? Geo, do what you have to do. Bring the discipline that you need to bring, right? Don't listen to your internal state, right? Not that. Don't let your emotions get in the way of what I gave my word to, right? Or my goals. Certainly, I live by that, and that's where it sneaks up on me if I don't take a look at what's my non-negotiable, that I know that I could lose myself in the way. For example, I'll just give this silly trivial example, Ronald and Saurel, if you want us to, and quickly. For example, one of the non-negotiables I have, this is a trivial one, is that whenever somebody comes to my office or whenever I am in a meeting and somebody wants to speak with me, I will never have a table between us. Never. I will always find a way to sit, knee to knee with somebody. Never have somebody feel uncomfortable with me or that I'm distanced with them. Another non-negotiable I have is that I don't talk to people while I'm doing something else. I will stop and I will look at them and I will hear what they need to say. I won't allow myself to diminish people because of my growth or because of my point of view. This is not a non-negotiable if that I got over the years out of my growth and development. So these are key little non-negotiables that allows me to continue to nurture relationships, no matter where I am in my pursuit of success. So these are little things like that also, Ronald, that that I want to include in the conversation. And thank you for sharing that. Saurel, it's half of the hour.
Gio, I'm glad you picked up on that. And Ronald, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I heard it loud and clear. You said, I have to do what I have to do so I can get to do what I want to do. That is the equivalent of saying, and I'm not saying it like it's the truth, Ronald, but I want you to just sit with it and take that away with you. It sounds like this. I have to give away a little bit of me now, so I won't have to give away a little bit of me later. Or I have to compromise the life I hoped for now, so I won't have to compromise the life I hoped for later. And that brings me to a point, right? When absent the non-negotiable, and it isn't confronting the fact that what you just said is actually saying that you'll begin to see for yourself at a visceral, at a gut level, what is non-negotiable for you, right? And it also means that when you are in an environment, like you're in a job or you're in a relationship, wherever you are, that actually is pressing against you, forcing you on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. You've been there 5 years or you've been there 6 months, forcing you to continually negotiate. Then one of the non-negotiables could be, when I'm in an environment that demands that of me, I will leave. And man, that's tough to do, especially if the context inside of which I'm living is, I've got to do what I've got to do so I can get to do what I want to do.
Yeah, and
So,
they really sneak up on us. They really sneak up on us. Really.
I like the detail. I like the detail, and to that is where core value just set in. That Gio mentioned earlier. Your core value will define how far you want to go into that. Do what you can do what you have to do what you want to do. So that's where core value will set in.
Critical. And setting up those core values, non-negotiable, does allow for a big life. It allows for the big life that some of us really want to create for ourselves and for our families and for our business and impact our community. So thank you all for being here. There are 8 core non-negotiables that we want you to consider for the rest of the week. The first one is love. Love always. Bring love into your life and give yourself a little bit permission to have a little bit more love today. Make it a non-negotiable one. Sleep more, at least 7 hours. It helps you with the wrinkles. It helps you be sexy. It helps you to be confident. Sleeping is a core value to have a great life. Eat more plant-based. Get closer to the trees. Hug the trees. Eat the trees. And make it a non-negotiable to eat processed food. And that thing is really bad. I mean, really go to ChatGPT and write down, what are the side effects of processed food? And likely you'll make it a non-negotiable. Even for somebody like me who's a foodie. Run every day, move. 10 minutes in the morning, right after you wake up, 10 minutes right after lunch. Make it a habit to move. It makes your life longer, stress less, have the right chemicals. Every day, move a little bit. Go for a walk. Go for walks. Give your jealousy away. Give your resentment away. Give your love away. Give who you are to the world. Give. What's the other one? What am I missing, Saurel?
Did you say go to sleep, Gio?
I said go to sleep.
Ah.
Smile. Stretch your cheeks. Stretch your cheeks, smile. And what was the other one, Saurel?
You did say all of them, Gio. And one of them is to really check your assumptions.
Check your assumptions before you wreck yourself. I love you, Saurel loves you more. So we'll see you next Monday. Write us with the topics that you want us to talk about. We'll leave you the email in the chat. Bye-bye.